Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of manipulation, walking on eggshells around someone who seems to drain the life out of you? Do you feel like no matter how much you give, it's never enough, and somehow they always make you feel like the problem? You're not alone. Narcissists have a way of pulling you into their web, controlling your thoughts, emotions, and actions without you even realizing it. But what if I told you there's a way to take your power back? What if I told you that by understanding a few simple but transformative principles, you could turn the tables, regain your confidence, and make them question their own control over you? This video isn't just a guide, it's your roadmap to freedom and emotional liberation. So stay with me until the very end, because by the time we're done, you'll have the tools to not only protect yourself, but to stand tall and unshaken, no matter who tries to bring you down. Narcissists thrive on attention, validation, and control. Their sense of self-worth often depends on the reactions they can elicit from others, whether it's admiration, anger, or frustration. One of the most powerful ways to counter a narcissist is by mastering the art of indifference, choosing not to feed their ego or play into their manipulative games. Indifference denies them the emotional energy they need to feel superior or maintain control, and it's a key principle rooted in Stoic philosophy. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control what others do or say, we have full control over our own minds, reactions, and perceptions. This is where the concept of emotional detachment becomes vital. When faced with the provocations of a narcissist, the Stoic response is to acknowledge their behavior without allowing it to disturb your inner peace. Picture yourself as a serene, immovable mountain. No matter how much wind, rain, or storms rage against you, you remain grounded and unshaken. Narcissists often use tactics like gaslighting, triangulation, or outright aggression to provoke a response. They feed off your reactions because it gives them a sense of power. Indifference, however, is their kryptonite. When you refuse to engage emotionally, when you don't react with anger, defensiveness, or even visible frustration, you starve them of what they crave most: attention and control. They may try harder at first, escalating their tactics, but over time, they'll begin to feel powerless when faced with your calm, unyielding neutrality. A practical example of this is to avoid taking their words or actions personally. Recognize that their behavior isn't about you. It's a reflection of their own insecurities and need for validation. For instance, if they criticize or belittle you, instead of getting defensive, you might respond with a neutral statement like, "That's your perspective," or even say nothing at all. This kind of response is not only disarming, but also deeply frustrating for them because it denies them the reaction they seek. Indifference doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment or staying silent in the face of abuse. It's about setting firm boundaries and calmly enforcing them without allowing their attempts to manipulate or control you to affect your emotional state. For instance, if a narcissist constantly interrupts or tries to dominate a conversation, you can calmly state, "I'm not engaging in this discussion right now," and walk away if necessary. This reinforces your self-respect while denying them the drama they're trying to create. Another crucial aspect of indifference is not seeking their approval or validation. Narcissists often use approval as a tool for control, giving it sparingly to keep you chasing their praise. By practicing self-validation and building your self-worth independent of their opinions, you break free from their grip. This aligns with Stoic principles, which emphasize that your sense of value should come from your own actions and virtues, not from the judgments of others. To strengthen your ability to remain indifferent, practice mindfulness and self-awareness. Meditation, journaling, or simply taking moments throughout the day to reflect on your emotions can help you recognize when a narcissist is trying to provoke you. When you notice these triggers, take a deep breath and remind yourself of your goal: to remain in control of your own emotions and actions. Lastly, remember that indifference is a long-term strategy. It's not about winning or outsmarting the narcissist in a single encounter. It's about consistently refusing to give them the emotional energy they crave, thereby reclaiming your power and protecting your peace. Over time, this approach not only frustrates the narcissist, but also strengthens your own mental resilience, allowing you to navigate their behavior with confidence and grace. Narcissists are masters at creating chaos, confusion, and drama to maintain control over others. They rely on their ability to manipulate emotions, exploit vulnerabilities, and dominate interactions. One of the most effective ways to counteract this and truly unsettle a narcissist is to set and enforce clear, unwavering boundaries. By doing so, you take control of your space, your time, and your energy, making it difficult for them to assert dominance or exploit you. Boundaries are like invisible fences that protect your emotional and mental well-being. For a narcissist who thrives on crossing those fences to test your limits, strong boundaries are both frustrating and confusing. They challenge the narcissist's sense of entitlement and disrupt their ability to manipulate you. The act of setting a boundary is a powerful declaration that you value your needs, preferences, and well-being over their desire for control. For example, if a narcissist constantly calls or messages you at odd hours expecting immediate attention, enforcing a boundary might look like turning off notifications after a certain time and informing them that you're unavailable during those hours. You don't owe them explanations or apologies for setting this boundary. Similarly, if they habitually criticize or belittle you, you can respond firmly by saying, "I won't tolerate disrespectful language," and then removing yourself from the conversation if they persist. The key to effective boundary setting is consistency. Narcissists often test boundaries repeatedly, looking for any sign of weakness or inconsistency they can exploit. If you set a boundary but fail to enforce it consistently, it signals to them that they can eventually break through with persistence. For instance, if you tell them you won't tolerate interruptions during your work hours, but then allow them to pull you into a conversation after their fifth attempt, they'll see it as a victory. To truly frustrate a narcissist, you must hold your ground every single time. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They're about saying yes to yourself. This is where the principles of Stoicism come into play. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for protecting our own inner peace, and that external forces, like the actions of others, should not dictate our emotional state. When you set a boundary, you're exercising control over what you allow into your life, reinforcing the Stoic ideal that your happiness and tranquility are within your own power. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is communication. Narcissists often operate in environments where boundaries are vague or non-existent, giving them free rein to exploit others. When you communicate your boundaries clearly and assertively, it leaves no room for misunderstanding. For instance, instead of saying, "I'd prefer if you didn't do that," you can state, "I will not engage with you if you continue this behavior." The firmness of your words conveys your seriousness, making it harder for the narcissist to manipulate you. It's also important to anticipate pushback. Narcissists rarely accept boundaries without a fight. They may try to guilt trip you, play the victim, or escalate their behavior to provoke a reaction. This is where your resolve is tested. Remember that their resistance is not a reflection of your boundaries' validity, but of their inability to respect limits. Stay calm and grounded, reinforcing your boundary without engaging in their attempts to provoke you. Enforcing boundaries also extends to protecting your emotional and physical space. If a narcissist frequently invades your personal space, insists on prying into your private matters, or demands your time and attention at the expense of your needs, it's crucial to stand firm. You might need to limit the time you spend with them, reduce the amount of personal information you share, or even end interactions entirely when they refuse to respect your limits. Finally, understand that setting boundaries with a narcissist is an act of self-preservation, not an attempt to change their behavior. Narcissists are unlikely to respect your boundaries out of goodwill. Instead, the power of boundaries lies in their ability to protect you and shift the dynamic of the relationship. By consistently enforcing your limits, you reclaim your autonomy, maintain your dignity, and deny the narcissist the control they seek, which is both empowering and deeply unsettling for them. Narcissists are experts at using their words and actions to draw attention, manipulate emotions, and maintain their perceived superiority. They thrive on provoking reactions from others, whether it's anger, frustration, guilt, or admiration. To truly unsettle a narcissist and regain control over your interactions, the most powerful tool you can wield is emotional detachment. By refusing to react emotionally to their provocations, you rob them of the validation they crave and disrupt their ability to manipulate you. Emotional detachment is not about suppressing your feelings, but rather about mastering them. It's about recognizing that the narcissist's words and actions are a reflection of their inner turmoil, not a measure of your worth or reality. Narcissists rely on their ability to elicit strong emotional responses because these responses give them the power to dominate and control. When you refuse to react, you create a wall of calm that they cannot penetrate, leaving them frustrated and powerless. Imagine a scenario where a narcissist criticizes you harshly, trying to provoke a defensive reaction. Instead of arguing, explaining, or becoming visibly upset, you respond with calm neutrality, something as simple as, "I see your perspective," or even silence. This refusal to engage emotionally can be infuriating for them because it denies them the satisfaction of seeing their words affect you. They thrive on drama and conflict, and when you don't provide it, they're left grasping for control. This approach aligns perfectly with Stoic principles, which emphasize the importance of controlling our own reactions and not allowing external events or people to dictate our emotions. Stoicism teaches that we should focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, and let go of the rest. When dealing with a narcissist, this means choosing not to let their behavior affect your inner peace. By remaining calm and composed, you demonstrate strength and resilience, qualities that narcissists find deeply unsettling. Emotional detachment also involves reframing the way you view the narcissist's behavior. Instead of taking their actions personally, recognize them as predictable patterns driven by their own insecurities and need for validation. This shift in perspective can help you maintain your composure, even in the face of their most provocative tactics. For instance, if they attempt to guilt trip you or play the victim, remind yourself that this is a manipulation strategy and not a reflection of reality. This awareness helps you stay grounded and prevents you from falling into their traps. Another key aspect of emotional detachment is practicing mindfulness and self-regulation. Narcissists often escalate their behavior when they sense they're losing control, pushing harder to get a reaction. In these moments, it's crucial to stay present and regulate your emotions. Deep breathing, grounding techniques, or even taking a brief pause before responding can help you maintain your composure. This calm and measured response further disarms the narcissist, who expects and thrives on emotional chaos. To enhance your emotional detachment, limit the amount of personal information you share with the narcissist. The less they know about your thoughts, feelings, and vulnerabilities, the fewer opportunities they have to exploit you. Keep interactions surface level and avoid discussing topics that could lead to emotional entanglement. This creates a buffer between you and their attempts to manipulate, making it harder for them to get under your skin. It's also important to practice self-care and prioritize your well-being. Dealing with a narcissist can be emotionally draining, and maintaining emotional detachment requires inner strength and resilience. Engage in activities that bring you joy, surround yourself with supportive people, and take time to recharge. When you're emotionally strong and centered, you're better equipped to handle the narcissist's tactics without losing your equilibrium. Lastly, understand that emotional detachment is not about punishing the narcissist or seeking revenge. It's about protecting your own mental and emotional health by refusing to engage in their toxic patterns. This approach not only preserves your inner peace, but also forces the narcissist to confront the reality that they cannot control or manipulate you. For someone who thrives on power and dominance, this realization is deeply unsettling, leaving them at a loss and effectively shifting the balance of power in your favor. Narcissists thrive on control, power, and the validation they extract from those around them. One of the most effective ways to unsettle a narcissist and assert your own independence is by consistently setting firm boundaries. Boundaries are the lines you draw to protect your mental, emotional, and physical well-being, and when dealing with a narcissist, they serve as a shield against their manipulative tactics. By enforcing boundaries, you disrupt their ability to dominate the relationship and begin to reclaim your autonomy. Setting boundaries with a narcissist starts with identifying what behaviors are unacceptable and harmful to you. Narcissists are often skilled at pushing limits, whether through constant criticism, emotional manipulation, or invading your personal space. To counter this, it's essential to define clear and specific limits. For example, if they frequently interrupt your personal time with unnecessary demands, you might set a rule that certain hours are off-limits for non-urgent matters. The key is to communicate these boundaries assertively, not aggressively, making it clear that they are non-negotiable. When you enforce boundaries, expect resistance. Narcissists are not accustomed to hearing no, and they may react with anger, guilt-tripping, or attempts to undermine your confidence. This reaction is a test of your resolve, and it's crucial to remain steadfast. Responding calmly but firmly to boundary violations reinforces that you will not tolerate disrespect or manipulation. For instance, if a narcissist tries to guilt you into abandoning your boundary, a simple response like, "I've already explained my position and it hasn't changed," can effectively shut down their attempts to control the situation. One of the challenges of setting boundaries with narcissists is their tendency to ignore them or find ways to exploit loopholes. To counter this, consistency is key. Every time they test your boundaries, respond in the same way. This consistency sends a message that you are serious about maintaining control over your life. Over time, this behavior can frustrate the narcissist because their usual methods of manipulation no longer yield the desired results. They may initially escalate their tactics, but your unwavering stance will eventually force them to adapt or back off. Boundaries also involve limiting the level of access the narcissist has to your life. Narcissists thrive on information they can use against you, so it's important to keep your personal and emotional life private. Share only what is necessary and avoid revealing vulnerabilities. This approach, often referred to as the gray rock method, minimizes their ability to manipulate you. By giving them as little emotional or personal fuel as possible, you reduce their influence over you and deprive them of the control they crave. Another critical aspect of boundary setting is learning to say no without guilt. Narcissists often prey on empathetic individuals who struggle with asserting themselves. They use guilt and fear to manipulate people into compliance. Recognize that saying no is not selfish. It is an act of self-preservation. Practice using assertive language, such as, "I'm not comfortable with that," or "I'm unable to do that right now." These statements are clear and leave no room for negotiation, making it harder for the narcissist to manipulate your response. Boundaries are not just about limiting the narcissist's behavior. They are also about empowering yourself. This means prioritizing self-care and surrounding yourself with supportive, understanding people. Building a strong support system provides you with the strength and encouragement needed to maintain your boundaries. Whether it's friends, family, or a therapist, having people who validate your experiences can be a powerful antidote to the gaslighting and manipulation often employed by narcissists. Additionally, enforcing boundaries involves accepting that you cannot change the narcissist. Their behavior is rooted in deep-seated patterns that are unlikely to change, regardless of your efforts. Instead, focus on changing how you respond to their behavior. By prioritizing your own needs and protecting your peace, you shift the dynamic in the relationship. This shift not only limits the narcissist's ability to control you, but also demonstrates your strength and self-respect, which can be deeply unsettling for someone who thrives on dominance. Boundaries also help protect your mental and emotional energy. Dealing with a narcissist can be exhausting, and without clear limits, it's easy to become consumed by their drama. By setting boundaries, you create a buffer that allows you to focus on your own well-being and goals. This shift in focus can be empowering and liberating, reminding you that you are in control of your life, not the narcissist. Ultimately, setting and maintaining boundaries with a narcissist is a process that requires patience, consistency, and self-confidence. It's not always easy, especially when faced with resistance or manipulation. However, each step you take to enforce your boundaries is a step toward reclaiming your power and protecting your inner peace. Narcissists thrive on chaos and control, but when you stand firm in your boundaries, you deprive them of the tools they use to dominate relationships. This act of self-respect and resilience not only protects you, but also forces the narcissist to confront their own limitations, leaving them powerless in the face of your strength.